everybody. Welcome to another episode of Two Strike Noise, your weekly baseball history podcast. My name is Jeff. I am one half of the show. The other 50% is sitting there right across from me physically. It is Mark A. Johnston. Mark, how are you doing?
Oh, it's just good to be back in studio.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that. Yeah, doing okay. Still waiting for the Mariners to make that big move.
Boy, are they going to move to Sacramento too? Is that or
no,
Portland?
Not that move.
Portland.
No, like moving players, like signing a big free agent. You know, just on edge every day, hoping for that.
Yeah. Well, as Mariner fans, you should be used to that. But we're not going to talk about the Mariners today. Well, I mean, we might in passing; they might come up, but we've got some other things to talk about here as we start off. Well, I guess we don't start off. This is like our third episode of 2025, but we are a little bit late today. We're recording this on Friday. I'm hoping to get this out on Friday. I don't know. We'll see how motivated I can be to edit this, or it's just going to be a perfect show and there's no edits needed. And bam.
Wow, that's the first time for everything.
I am not going to hold my breath for that. But let's get into some BP here, Mark. We want to make sure we're limbered up. Let's talk about Cal Ripken Jr. first of all. Well-known Hall of Famer that I'm guessing most of our listeners know about. I'm guessing most of our listeners also know that there is a minor league team in the Orioles organization called the Ironbirds, who reside in Aberdeen, Maryland, which is Cal Ripken Jr.'s hometown, and that Cal and his brother Billy owned that team, and thusly have named it the Ironbirds after the Iron Man streak. Well, this happened 21 years ago after Ripken retired in 2001. As I said, they purchased what was then the Utica Blue Sox, and they moved that club from Utica, New York to Aberdeen, where they became the Orioles affiliate at a newly built Ripken Stadium, which is nice. It's it's 20 years old, but it still looks really nice. The ballpark cost $18 million, which came from the city, county, state, and the Ripkens. It was built, and the city, they thought this was going to be a typical minor league team where, it's a 140-game season, so that's 70 games plus any playoffs or anything that is going to be there. But instead, the Ironbirds were a short season team and only played 38 home games a year. They have not been drawing well. The Ripkens have sold their majority to one of these companies that's just buying up minor league teams, which I don't care for that, but they're buying these up. So the Ripkens have essentially wrung their hands of the Ironbirds because they're frustrated with the city and the city's frustrated with them. I guess it's a rare loss for the Ripkens, or at least for Billy, or not for Billy, at least for Cal. Billy. Yeah. By the way, this is professional podcasting, again, 101. Today is the 17th when we're recording this. This is the day in 1989 when Fleer baseball cards hit the store with their new card. I want to say new model, but their new cards with a Billy Ripken card included.
Yes.
Where I'm sure
famous cards.
Where nobody has missed a message that might be written on the knob of his bat.
Yes, where he's kindly referring to himself, I believe, as a nice guy or something like that.
Now, there was no social media, obviously, in 1989. I don't even think there was like Prodigy or American Online. Well, I know there wasn't, but maybe just like Facebook only at Harvard or wherever the heck that started. But I'm wondering how quickly, because if they were in stores today for the first time, how quickly are people finding Billy Ripken cards, looking and actually reading what's on his bat? I would have probably never even noticed it. And then how does that news spread in 1989?
Yeah, that's interesting. That's a good point. It's all word of mouth or Beckett.
Yeah, I was going to say, is it a letter to the editor or a short story in Beckett? The next month, though, you maybe get it. Does anybody at the card store, if you're buying them from a card store, is the guy there? Like, I remember the owner of the card store that I bought cards from, above the Woolworths where I stole most of my cards from. But I mean, I knew him. We talked baseball. I don't remember him telling me anything about it. I'm curious as to how that.
I'm trying to remember. I think if just a friend of mine showed up and said, "Hey, did you hear this?" Word of mouth type thing.
I'm wondering, did it show up on like the evening news? Like, this is something I could see like on the national news, like the last story of the.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Where it would be blurred out, obviously, but collectors are going crazy over a baseball card. Cal Ripken Jr.'s younger brother, Billy, has,
AKA, no, never mind.
So that's the Ironbirds might not even be the Ironbirds anymore. And Billy Ripken, it's the anniversary of that. What is this? So this would be like the 35th anniversary of that? I don't know. I can't do math.
I hate mathematics.
Yeah. So you'll like this one. Tyler Rogers, he's a reliever for the Giants. Remember, he's got a twin brother that is also in the big leagues. I think Tyler, though, is the submarine pitcher. I'm not sure that they're... I don't think they're both submarine pitchers, but Tyler is. He's with the Giants, just had a child, and you're going to love what they named their kid.
I think I know. I think I read this.
Yeah, Nolan Ryan Rogers.
Yep, beautiful.
It works when your last name is also a first name.
Yeah, absolutely.
And his first name is also a last name.
That's true too.
Or is Nolan his middle name? What's Nolan Ryan's full name? That's
Lynn. Nolan Ryan Jr.
Yeah, look at that. All three of his names could be first or last names.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see why he didn't want to go by Lynn.
Well, I mean, he's tough enough. Ask Robin
That's
Ventura.
true. Like a boy named Sue type thing.
Yeah, exactly. I would have gone with myself. I would have gone with Kenny Rogers Rogers. If we're using former Ranger pitcher names to name your children.
Kenny Rogers Rogers. I like that.
Kenny Rogers Rogers. Roger. And then you could have tied it in with Star Wars. Roger.
Roger.
Yeah. Let's see this. I have been doing some research on, well, I mean, we do a lot of research on Negro Leagues. I went down a rabbit hole the other day, and I found a tie between Vince McMahon, former WWE executive owner, and Negro League baseball.
Really?
Yeah. If you would have told me that there was a tie between these two, I would have scoffed at you. But the New York Lincoln Giants were a very famous Negro League baseball team. They were based in New York City from 1911 through 1930. Their original home was Olympic Field, which is in Harlem, and it was built by the club's founder. The founder of the New York Lincoln Giants, Roderick James McMahon.
No kidding.
And his brother. That is Vince McMahon's grandfather.
That's amazing.
That is incredible. I don't know. I just kind of don't think of anybody in the McMahon family as I know them as being, hey, let's buy and let's found a Negro League team.
Yeah, that's definitely, that wouldn't have been my first guess.
Yeah, so the McMahons lost control of both Olympic Field, which is where they played and built for the Lincoln Giants, and the team itself in 1915. But then they went ahead and they formed a new black club, the Lincoln Stars. So they were all into it.
Wow.
At least they were into the money. That's probably the better way to say that, I think. In it for the money.
Most likely.
While I was doing that research, which led me to that gem, I found another gem. I found another baseball player nicknamed High Pockets.
Really?
Yeah. So, of course, wow. George Kelly, Hall of Famer, our favorite High Pockets. I found a Negro League version of High Pockets, Robert Hudspeth.
Yeah.
I had not heard of Robert's Hudspeth, and Baseball Reference does not have his nickname on here at all. Any nickname, let alone High Pockets. But I found reference to him being called High Pockets in several other places. He played in the Negro Leagues for 9 years. He played for the said earlier New York Lincoln Giants, which is how I found him. That's where he spent most of his career. He spent all of it basically in New York. He also played for the Indianapolis ABCs, which is a great name, and the Columbus Buckeyes. But after that, he moved to New York pretty much for the length of his career. But he, like George High Pockets Kelly, was 6'4". So now we know the standard by which you have to reach to be nicknamed High Pockets. 6'4".
Okay, now we got it. Look, I'm looking in my Encyclopedia of Negro League Baseball, and it lists him as Robert High Pockets Hudspeth.
There you go. Boy, that's another book I got to find. I've got that down in the garage somewhere. That's a great book. I have used that.
Fantastic.
Also, while I was doing this said research for this video I am working on, which hopefully I can get out by next week. It's a longer video, so it's a little bit more. I was doing some more research on Ed Delahanty. That we had a whole episode about him and how he, don't know how he died exactly off that bridge near Buffalo, and then ended up his body found down at the falls. But I am just looking at his penultimate season of his career, which was his last full season, which was 1902. 1903, he only played in 42 games because he fell to his death. But in 1902, he led the league in a bunch of categories. A 6.8 WAR was tops. He led the league with 43 doubles. His slash line was 376, 343, 590 for an OPS of 1.043, all of which led the league, and a 188 OPS plus, which also led the league. But what is just incredible here, he walked 62 times. He played in 123 games, 541 plate appearances, 9 strikeouts.
What?
9 strikeouts. His on-base percentage, as I said, was .453. That is a contact hitter. He had some power as well. He stole 16 bases. This is an incredible season. 14 triples. That's Sandberg-esque.
Yeah.
Or at least 83, 84 is Sandberg-esque.
Right.
But I mean, this is just an incredible season. I wish. Last thing I wanted to talk about in the Wayback Machine here is more sad news. I mean, we've had a lot of people passing away. Bob Uecker, of course, passed away. That's that's one of those, and I talked about it when I live streamed the other day. Everybody knows who Bob Uecker is, whether you're a baseball fan or not, whether it be from Major League, which is beyond a baseball movie. It's a great movie. And those Bud Light or Miller Light, I don't remember which commercials, I must be in the front row.
Yes, and appearances on The Tonight Show.
The Tonight Show.
Just all kinds of
Mr. Belvedere. He was just a baseball player who happened to be the funniest guy you ever met.
Right.
And so he passed, unfortunately. And if you haven't, we did a whole episode on him several years back. Go back and listen to that. We got a lot of audio on there. But somebody else also passed away, Tommy Brown. He was the last living member of the 1947 Dodgers, which, of course, was the team that Jackie Robinson came up when he broke the color barrier in Major League Baseball. He was born in 1927, nicknamed Buckshot. He was 16 years, 241 days old when he started his first game in the big leagues. That is the youngest for a position player. This is during World War II, where a lot of players were serving their country overseas. So they, obviously had to bring some guys up that probably weren't ready to go. He is also the youngest player to have ever homered. Well, not to ever homer, but I mean, he's the youngest player to have homered at 17 years, 257 days against Preacher Rowe. But just a lot of these guys are passing away, some older, some not as old. But I definitely wanted to mention that. That is something we like to talk about. Also, I mentioned today, January 17th, happy birthday to Pete Lecoq.
Hey, Pete.
Pete, I bet Bob Gibson would have another present for him somewhere. Bob had a ball around. Also want to say happy birthday to half of our favorite Jamaican duo, Chili Davis.
Nice.
I'm beginning to wonder, is Chili Davis and Devon White, are they becoming our new Gabby Street, Gabby Hartnett? I have to mention them every pod.
They might be, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. And not so happy birthday to a pitcher that I'm not going to name that had to play in Mexico last year and Japan the year before because nobody wants him in the big leagues. You can probably figure it out. Buy him a new drone for his birthday if that helps at all. But that's going to be it for BP. I'm going to hand the reins over now to Mark A. Johnston. He's going to tell us about something that I don't know about. So go for it, Mike.
But I was going to talk a little bit about some cheating in the past. 1962, the San Francisco Giants at Candlestick, and the Dodgers were coming to town for a 3-game series. So this is 62. This is a Maury Wills height of his career, where he was stealing bases left and right, getting on base, scoring runs. Maury Wills, the entire Giants team was actually pretty quick, built a lot around speed, among other things. And so the Giants were trying to figure out, how do we slow down Maury Wills? This guy gets on base and it's havoc. So the Giants manager,
Alvin Dark,
yes, approached Matty Schwab, that's the team's head groundskeeper, and said, hey, is there anything we could do to slow down Maury Wills? Well, they said, yeah, there might be. So what they did was they dug up part of the right by first base between first and second where he would be getting his lead, and they filled it up. They made it a speed trap. They removed the topsoil and they put down sand, moss, peat, and water. And then they covered it with an inch of regular infield soil. So there's this 5 by 15 foot quagmire now, but it's indistinguishable because you can't see, they put the topsoil over it. So when the Dodgers came out for BP, they were like, wait a minute, look at this, is like quicksand over here. And they brought the umpires out, and the umpire said, okay, get rid of this. This is ridiculous. So all they did was they dug it out, and then they brought out the same stuff basically, but with new topsoil, and they covered it up, and the umpires were good. Okay, that's fine. So it's the same thing, right? But it looks legit because the groundskeeper replaced that awful swamp. So they played the series with this interesting swamp between first and second. Maury Wills, as was his MVP year, no stolen bases, nobody on the Dodgers, stolen bases, nothing. So they continued to do that for the next couple of games. And what do you know? The Giants jumped over the Dodgers into first place and won the National League pennant. That was something that I had never heard of, but that's pretty major cheating.
Now, what happened to the Giants? They won the pennant. What happened in the World Series that year?
You don't want to ask me that live.
Well, I do, because we talked to Ralph Terry, if you remember. And
yes.
Ralph Terry shut them down in Game 7. Willie McCovey with that rope to right field that was caught to preserve it, but a complete game victory and the World Series MVP for Ralph Terry.
Yes. Yeah, that's a great episode.
Now, I have heard of this kind of stuff before, being a Rickey Henderson fan. I don't think teams would put peat and that kind of stuff underneath, but they would definitely water down that first base. I remember so many times hearing Ray Fosse talking about, you can see how wet the dirt is around first base when they'd be playing. The A's would be on the road and Rickey would be there because they would just try to make it a muddy track so that he couldn't get a great jump. It didn't really affect him that much, but I definitely remember that.
Yeah, interesting. And this was just a little more elaborate than doing that. But yeah, the teams will do anything within the means of legality to get an advantage, which I totally understand. I have no problem with that. It's when they get dirty that people get upset about it. Now, like, for example, Philadelphia Phillies, 1898. They had ran a wire underground. Sound familiar? They ran a wire underground from the clubhouse in center field to the first base coach's box. And they would station someone in the clubhouse that would send the electrical signal. It would be one buzz for a fastball, 2 buzzes for breaking stuff like that. And the coach would signal to his batters what pitch was coming. So they knew. And what happened was that kind of came apart later in the season when an opposing team's player got his spikes tangled up in a wire. And they tried to convince him that it was tree roots for a bit, but no, they were cheating.
That was Pierce Chills, right? We've talked about that. He was the one that was the coach there. Then, yeah, I remember that because his nickname was "What's the Use."
That's a great nickname.
Yeah, it would suck to be doing that though if it was a little wet.
Yeah, well, that's true. Well, basically nothing happened. They didn't. The National League did not punish the Phillies. They threatened them. They said, "Oh, you're terrible people," and then nothing was done.
They judged their character, but they didn't.
Right. It was kind of interesting. I found Al Worthington, not Cal, Al, leave off the C, no dog spot. Al Worthington actually quit mid-season in 1960 as the White Sox because of the White Sox stealing signs. He felt that it was immoral, and he did not think it should be done. So he quit. He quit playing baseball.
Well, how about this? We might have talked about this when we talked about Pierce Chills before, but he is a distant cousin to former U.S. President John Tyler.
Wow.
You would think he wouldn't cheat if he was,
sure,
related to a politician.
Right. Politicians don't cheat. No. What the heck? This is an interesting one. 1951, the Giants. It was DeRocher. I didn't know DeRocher managed the Giants.
Was the New York Giants, right?
Yes, the New York Giants. In spring training, Sal Ivers, he was like a third-string catcher for the Giants, basically went up to DeRocher and said, the Indians' battery was tipping its signs. I'm able to pick them up. And he said, wow, well, let's do that then. And they picked up the signs and scored 54 runs during the homestand. And then when Henry Schenz, utility infielder, probably on his way to playing for the Mariners, because we're cornering the market on utility infielders. Schenz came to the Giants from the Pirates in 51, and he tells DeRocher, hey, part of what I used to do is hide in the scoreboard at Wrigley with a telescope and steal signs from the teams we were playing against. And DeRocher, well, let's get it done. Of course, let's press that advantage. They played in the Polo Grounds, and the clubhouse was absolutely dead center field, as we have discussed, 483 feet from home plate. The Giants are in third place behind the Dodgers, and so they were able to pick up a signal, or pick up the signs, but they didn't know how to signal to the clubhouse or get a signal from the clubhouse to the team. So what they did was Sal Ivers, the signaler, would hold up a baseball to indicate a fastball. If he threw the ball up in the air, it meant it was going to be a breaking pitch. And he would get up and walk around if he didn't know. So it was basically, they got to the point of where they ran from the clubhouse to the bullpen, haywire. That's the popular way to cheat, obviously. If they would outlaw wires, there would be no cheating in baseball. Adam Chadwick, who was a lifelong member of the Local 3 of the IBEW, shout out to my brother. He normally, he would run the lights. He would turn the lights on and off. And they went to him and said, hey, any way you could hook up a buzzer and a wire? Shoot, yeah, anytime, man. I'm an electrician. So he hooks up this wire to lead to the bullpen. And it was pretty loud. The buzzer was loud, but nobody seemed to really pay attention to it. So they would buzz this once for a fastball, twice for a curveball. They were able to get the signs from the catcher using a 35 millimeter Wallensack telescope. So he had this amazing telescope. He could totally hone in on what the catcher's signs were. And their first game with the new system, 11-5, they beat the Reds, took two more and then lost one. And then they went on a road trip and just absolutely got destroyed. Imagine that. The Dodgers lead take off to 12.5 games. So there was also a problem with Henry Schenz. He was not a ball player, and so he had trouble picking up, discerning what the signs were. He would be watching them flash the signs, but he wasn't always right. So what they did was they took Herman Franks, which is the third base coach for the Giants, ex-catcher, understands the signs, and they stuck him out in the clubhouse. That's why DeRocher coached third base the rest of that season, because Franks was out in center field with a telescope.
So the manager had to coach third because they had stuck the third base coach in the outfield to steal something.
The Giants continued to win. And interestingly, Bobby Thompson seemed to have benefited from this fairly well, as he went from hitting 241 to hitting 346. So a little different. Pitching was actually the reason the Giants started doing so well. They had a 3.47 ERA at home, 4.49 on the road from July 20th to the end of the season. The ERA was 2.90 and 2.93 away. So that had nothing to do with stealing of signs. The pitchers just kind of came around on their own. So now they were hitting. Now they were pitching. Basically, it may have made a difference in one or two games, but in a long season, look at the Mariners. They've missed the playoffs the last two seasons by one game. So did the cheating have any effect? on the Giants season that year? Or was it the pitching? What happened? There's really no way to tell if it had a big effect or not. But it was a cheating scandal that was kept in abeyance, not discussed until years later. They went on without saying anything. Nobody said anything until eventually it came out. And now we can look back and go, wow, that great season for the Giants. Was that dirty or was it not? Well, they did run a wire and they did use a telescope. They were showing the Astros were not the first team to do it. Unfortunately, cheating has happened a number of times, and there has not been much in the way of punishment handed out for stealing signs. Just slaps on the wrist and so on. A couple players for the Astros, or manager and so on, got suspended for a year, but the players really never were punished for that. So there's a little bit of history on cheating in the past in baseball, and I hope we see no more of that in the future. How about you?
Yeah, I'm sure we'll see more of it in the future.
Yeah, I'm sure.
We did. I would implore listeners, if you haven't already, once the Astros scandal kind of broke, we did a whole episode on this. I remember Joe Garagiola, who I know for me is, that's Saturday game of the week on NBC with Vin Scully.
It's been every week.
When that was one of the few games I got to see. But he told a story once. He spent 1 year at the end of his career there with the Giants, and he was the guy in several games that would sit in the clubhouse in center field with a telescope, he said, stealing those signs. I don't remember how he said he got the signs in, but he admitted that he had done that before. And I know that Bobby Thompson's shot heard around the world. There is speculation to this day that he knew what pitch was coming. He claims.
Say it ain't so, man. Say it ain't so.
Well, no, that's Joe Jackson, but that's a little bit before. But he, and I believe Bobby has passed away, but he went to his grave saying that he did not know what pitch was coming at that point. I don't know that I believe him exactly, but I can't believe how many cheating scandals there were there. That Polo Grounds was just such a weird place to play anyway.
Yeah, it was like a horseshoe shaped and just a bizarre park.
Yeah, and by the way, I'm looking here at Bobby Thompson, who he did pass away in 2010. Did you know he was born in Glasgow? He's Scottish.
No, I did not know that. What are you saying, lad?
Oh,
you're a round baseball player.
And I'm familiar with Bobby Thompson somewhat, but nicknames here, the Flying Scot or the Staten Island Scot. So I guess everybody else knew that he was Scottish.
Yeah, just not us.
Just not us, yeah.
Yeah,
and he likewise, very Ryan Sandberg-esque, in 1952, he led the league in triples with 14. Never had double digits any other time in his career.
Just like Rhino.
Yeah, it's just weird how these guys just all of a sudden just hit for triples. Although I would assume in the Polo Grounds, triples are probably easier to come by than a lot of other parks.
Probably true.
You hit it in the gap and left or right center, and it could go all the way.
Oh yeah, just a huge field.
Yeah, and those bullpens, if you remember, in the Polo Grounds, were in play. They were in the field of play, but it was so rare that anybody could reach them that they never really didn't really come into play that often. But
yeah, that's what made it so easy to relay the pitch coming to the batter, because all I had to do was glance a little bit to the left.
Yeah, but they're so far away. I would think they would need binoculars to see the guy in the bullpen.
Well, maybe they have better eyes than us.
Maybe so. Now, I know Mike Scott admitted with the Astros that they had a monitor in the bullpen and would relay signs. Why is it always the Astros, man? But because remember, the Mets couldn't hit him anyway, especially in 86. But when he was not pitching, he was helping. He was stealing signs and giving them to the batter just via a monitor in the bullpen.
It's kind of interesting, isn't it, that stealing signs is okay as long as you're not using electronics?
Yeah, I think it's legitimately considered okay if you're on base.
Right.
I will watch if I am the runner on first base or even third base. I will look and see if the catcher happens to dip his fingers too low. You can see what they're calling. And I've gotten used to it as I play second base, so I'm always watching this catcher sign. Just if it's a fastball, I'm gonna, assume that they might be a little bit behind it. If it's off speed, I'm gonna play the other way. So you can kind of do that. Plus, if it's an off speed, it could be a wild pitch in the dirt, so you're a little bit more. You're looking a little bit more. Maybe you can take another base. But yeah, if you're not on base, it is really frowned upon. I agree 100%.
Yeah.
All right. That's going to do it for the main part of the show here. Let us now, Mark, head into the final segment. This is the time where we're going to open some old baseball cards. We are going to go at it 1-on-1. You against me. I'm throwing punches this week. And let's get into it. It's Wax Pack Heroes.
Wax Pack Hero. Stars in his eyes. Wax Pack Hero. Gonna pull a wax back hero. Stars in his eyes. Hero. On a podcast tonight.
All right, Mark, I'm looking at the scoreboard. It's 13-11. I am up by 2. We had a great battle last week. I lost.
One for the ages, man.
I lost on one of my guys, Carney Lansford. Yeah. But we had some great names, and it was a good battle last week. So let's get into it this week. If you're new here, we're going to open up some baseball cards from the 80s and 90s. Today, it is going to be some 1988 Fleers. Going to open these up. We are going to do a little, remember the card game War, where you would each have a card, you throw it down, whoever has the highest card wins and takes that round. We're going to do that, best out of 5, but instead of using spades and hearts and stuff, we're going to be using baseball cards and Baseball Reference. We're going to use their war. We're going to use B-War. Whoever has the highest one is going to win that round 1 to 5, as I said. But there are some ways that you can add or subtract points. What we call 80s baseball aesthetics. That means things like real stirrups, where we can see sanitary socks, glasses, whether they be sun or science teacher, eye black, good sideburns, anything like that. Mustaches, that'll get you 1/10 of a point, unless it's a really good one, like a Wade Boggs, Tom Selleck-esque. We'll give you an additional 10 on that. Things we don't like 2-in-1s, that kind of stuff, you're going to minus 1/10 of a point. If the player won any awards that year, Rookie of the Year, Cy Young, MVP, if they were an All-Star or won a Gold Glove, that's 1/2 a point for each of those. If there is a Hall of Famer on the card, whether they're the focus or not, that's a whole extra point. If Ricky Henderson shows up on either Mark's pack or mine, I automatically win that round. Same thing goes for him with Nolan Ryan. If there are any easy pop culture references that we can find, you get 1/2 a point, unless they appeared on Seinfeld, The Simpsons, or Sabrina the Teenage Witch. You get a whole point for each of those. And if they were suspended or appeared in the Mitchell Report during their playing days, that is going to be a minus 1/2 a point. So let's get into it, Mark. Here I've got these 1988 Fleers, which have clearly been opened before and not sealed very well. But all right, Mark, I've got some cards here, my left hand and my right hand. Which one would you like?
I've been having good luck with the right hand.
All right, your first card is a good one. Pitcher for the Toronto Blue Jays. It's Jimmy Key.
Oh, nice.
15 years in the big leagues, 9 with Toronto, 4 with the Yankees, and then the last 2 with Baltimore. 1988, let's see, he was with Toronto. 12-5 record. That's pretty good. 3.29 ERA, 21 games, 131 innings pitched, 127 hits. So it seems like he missed some time here. Had 2 complete game shutouts this year. Struck out 65, and that is a 119 ERA plus. This is coming off a year in which he was second in Cy Young voting in 1987. Overall, that is a WAR of 2.0. There is nothing on this card that is going to help you out, but a 2.0 is pretty darn good.
I'll take it. Yeah.
Right off the bat there. Won 2 World Series, one with the Blue Jays in 92, and then one with the Yankees in 1996. We've talked about this, became a amateur golfer after he retired.
Pro athletes do.
Yeah. Well, John Smoltz as well. Yeah. Let's see. A lot of, he was hurt a lot, but never had Tommy John surgery. All right, that's a 2.0 for you to start off with Jimmy Key, and you are going to be going up against utility infielder for the Mets, Keith Miller.
Oh, Keith Miller. I don't know who Keith Miller is.
I remember Keith vaguely. He's got the phone numbers there and the positions played, did a lot of things. Overall, 9 years in the big leagues, 5 with the Mets, 4 with the Royals. I think I remember him more with the Royals than anything. In 1988, he appeared in 40 games, hit .214, had a .276 on base for a 70 OPS plus, 1 home run, 5 RBI, no stolen bases, 5 caught stealing. That's not good. Although his rookie year, the year before, he stole 8 and was only caught once. And then the next year, he stole 6 and wasn't caught at all. And overall for his career, he stole 63 and was only caught 20 times. So a quarter of his career caught stealings were in 1988.
That's funny.
What is not funny is his WAR is a minus 0.6.
No, that's funny.
No, and there's nothing on this card that is going to help me out. I am seriously doubting that he's got much in the way of pop culture, but this is a great trade. He was traded by the Mets in 1991 along with Greg Jeffries and Kevin McReynolds to the Royals for Bill Pecota and Brett Saberhagen.
Nice.
Boy, if Sabes would have just been on the Mets like 5 years earlier, he could have been in Get Metsmerized and really, he could have pushed that over the top.
Man, no kidding.
Just what could have been. Oh, we've talked about him before. He became an agent where he represented David Wright, Brandon Inge, and Scott Rowland.
Yeah.
All right, you're up 1-0 here. Your next card. Oh, geez. There's no way I'm going to be able to beat this, no matter who I have. You have got a Hitting King and the Thief card. It's Tony Gwynn and Vince Coleman.
My goodness.
Yeah. I'm just going to tell you who my player is. We'll look up my player because we've talked about Tony Gwynn and Vince Coleman 1,000 times, and their combined WAR is probably going to be 1,000 anyway.
Yeah.
And you're going up against outfielder for the Cardinals, John Morris. Now, I don't want to take anything away from John Morris. He made the big leagues. I mean,
that's right.
He played for 7 years. Let's see, he was basically an outfielder. He played 5 for the Cards and then 1 for the Phils and 1 for the California Angels. In 1988 with the Cardinals, he only appeared in 20 games. He hit .289, .308 on base, a 100 even OPS plus, no home runs, 3 RBI, and a minus 0.2 WAR.
Well,
yeah, I mean,
I'm with you. You can't take anything away from the guy. He was a big league ball player.
Yeah,
He's just going up against a ridiculous card.
Yeah, I mean, a Hall of Famer and a guy that was. This is pretty much maybe just past his peak. Stolen base Vince Coleman. I mean, just it's no fair. Now, I will say, and this is going to be, I think we need to add this to 80s baseball aesthetics because you do not see this anymore. John Morris is warming up in the outfield. This is a spring training game, but in between innings, he's warming up and his batting gloves are hanging out of his back pocket. You don't see that anymore. You see those oven mitts, but you don't see batting gloves anymore.
No, this is true.
I wore last weekend I did that because I thought I was going to be sitting out that half inning on defense and I was due up the next half inning and then they're like, hey, we need a center fielder. So I ran out there and my gloves were hanging out of the back pocket and I felt cool, but I also realized nobody does that anymore.
I like the gloves hanging out of the back.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Jeffrey Leonard.
Shows you're ready.
Yeah. Well, Jeffrey Leonard used to stick them back there, just extra gloves. So when he would jog that they would wave goodbye.
Of course.
Now, I should mention this. He did play in the Cape Cod League, John Morris did, and he is a member of the Cape Cod League Hall of Fame.
Oh, okay.
He hit .410 and set a records for runs scored in a season in 1981.
Jeez.
Pretty good.
No
All right.
doubt.
So you're up 2-0 now, and you've got a pitcher for the Royals. He does not rap that I am aware of, nor has Ford ever sponsored him. It's John Davis. You remember all those great names we had last week?
Yeah. What goes around comes around, man.
Yeah. Again, John Davis, 4 years in the big leagues. Let's see, 2 years for the White Sox, then the Royals and the Padres. 1988 with the White Sox, he went 2-5 with a 6.64 ERA.
This is going to be good.
Yeah, 63 innings pitched, 77 hits allowed, 37 strikeouts, a 60 ERA plus. Now, this is his second year in the big leagues. His rookie year with the Royals the year before, he went 5-2 with a 2.27 ERA and a 2.03 ERA plus.
What in the world?
So you just missed out here. This is good for a minus 2.3 WAR.
Wow.
That is a large number.
That hurts.
Yeah, I'm going to guess that he does not have, no pop culture references. Nothing on this card is going to help you out. So that is a minus 2.3. I'm hoping that my card just didn't play this year. That's all I need.
That's it.
Now, I do have this. I've got a prospects card for the Phillies. So the way we've done this, there's two guys on here. The way we've done this is we pick one.
Right.
I don't think I've heard of either of these guys. I've got Greg Jelks, not Steve Jeltz. That would have been awesome. Greg Jelks with a K, or Tom Newell. I think Newell is a pitcher, and Jelks looks like a hitter. I'm hoping to pick a guy that didn't play this year. I'm going to go with Jelks. All right, let's see. Jelks did not play. He played 1 year in 1987.
You got your wish.
And he's got a mustache, too. So it's a tenth of a point, unless he appeared on the Mitchell Report or something way later. Let's see. For his career, 1 year, 1987, he appeared in 10 games for the Phils. Hit .091 with a .286 on base. Not bad for that batting average. 26 OPS plus for a WAR of 0. But again, it doesn't matter because he didn't play in 1988, the year that we care about.
Well, you know what? Be careful what you wish for, man. You got a guy that didn't play.
Yeah, now, he has got a very long Wikipedia page, though.
Really?
Appears that he played overseas quite a bit, played in Italy and Australia, then played with the Australian national team for a couple of years. He then managed quite a bit and coached in Australia and the national teams as well. Unfortunately, on a flight to Australia from the U.S., Jelks fell asleep and never woke up.
Oh, wow.
Does not say what he passed away of. Became the first, and as of 2024, only MLB player in history to have died in Australia. That's interesting, because first of all, everything in Australia can kill you.
This is true.
But that's unfortunate. But he helped me win, so I appreciate it. And RIP to Greg Jelks. All right. 2-1. Your next guy here. Oh, wow. This is an 80s card. Pitcher for the Reds, Tom Hume. I'm going to ask you again. Remember all those big names we had last week?
Yeah, I sure do.
So Hume here has got some big science teacher sunglasses. So you're going to get, he's also got Sanzabelt pants on. Oh, my goodness. If you want a good laugh, just go to Tom Hume's baseball reference page and look at his picture. He's got glasses on. They are not science teacher glasses. These are 80-year-old women's reading glasses. You know, that they've got the chains on them that they'll just wear it around their neck if they're not using them. Those are some interesting glasses. And apparently Tom Hume's on Twitter. I don't go on Twitter anymore because he's an older gentleman at this point. And unfortunately, it looks like mainly he posts when teammates have passed away. So not a real uplifting feat. But overall, 11 years in the big leagues, 10 with the Reds and then a little bit with the Phillies. Good news for you, I guess. 1987 was his final year in the big leagues. So you're going to get some Sanzabelt pants. We can't do Sanzabelt because everybody had Sanzabelt pants. I'm looking at these cards. But you are going to get the glasses. So you're going to get a 10th of a point. So you're going to get a point.
Okay. Well, there's something.
Yeah. Let's see. First round draft pick by the Reds in 1972 and was traded with Gary Redus at one point for a couple of guys. Looks like Hume has gone on to coach quite a bit. Served as interim pitching coach when Vern Rule was absent. And then also Dick Pohl. So a couple of...
Nice.
I mean, those are good names when you come to pitching coaches. I remember those guys as pitching coaches because they played before I got into baseball.
He did win the Fireman Relief Award 1 year with 25 saves with Cincinnati.
Did he? Oh, wow.
Yeah, 92 career saves.
So with 25 saves, you're the fireman of the year?
Apparently.
Okay, I guess. So you got a point too, and you are going up. I might have a shot here because I know this guy has a book written about him. Because I questioned why we needed a book about Kelly Gruber.
I think he's a Canadian hero.
Yeah, well, he definitely is. Good news for me, too. He's got real stirrups and he's got eye black on this card. So I think I'm feeling pretty confident here. He also scored his highest career WAR in 1988.
Well...
So overall, 10 years in baseball, 9 with the Blue Jays, 1 with the California Angels in 1993 to end it all. Well, to end his career, not to end it all. That's very sound like he died, but he did not. 1988 with Toronto, hit 278, a 328 on base, 16 home runs, 81 RBI, 23 stolen bases for a 113 OPS plus, and that is good for a WAR of 5.2 plus the stirrups and the eye black. I mean, it's an easy win for me on this one. First round draft pick by Cleveland in 1980, and was once traded straight up. I mean, it was at the end of his career, but straight up for Luis Sojo. Again, Luis Sojo had a good career, but you're straight up for him. First Blue Jay in history to hit for the cycle as well. All right, I take that. We're tied up at 2 apiece now. You have got, I think you've got a good one here. You've got outfielder for the California Angels. You've got Brian Downing.
Oh, love this guy.
Who loved him more was Different Strokes and the Jeffersons, I think. Let's see.
Yeah, that's right. One of the great leadoff hitters.
The incredible bulk, yeah. Just not your prototypical looks-wise leadoff batter. And he was a catcher for the first part of his career. But 20 years in the big leagues, mostly split between California and the White Sox. Also played for the Rangers for a little bit. 1988 with the Angels. Hit 242, 362 on base, 128 OPS plus. 25 home runs at the age of 37, 64 RBI, and a 3.0 WAR. He's got eye black on, and he's also got no ear flaps on the helmet because he's a catcher.
Right.
So that'll be a 3.2, plus you got the pop culture will be a 3.7. Not bad for a 37-year-old. You're going up against outfielder for the Phillies, it's Glen Wilson. Now, do we get points for the poster, or was it a baseball card with the Rambo-like, the headband and the baseball belts over his shoulder kind of stuff?
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, it is class. If you don't know what we're talking about, just Google Glen Wilson and as Glenbow, I guess, would be the thing to do. And it's a classic shot with the grease paint. He looks like he's gonna hunt the predator. Not well, but he's gonna try. Let's see, Glen Wilson overall, 10 years in the big leagues, Phillies, Pirates, Tigers, Astros, and your Seattle Mariners, Mark.
About half a season.
For 1988. Yeah, well, that's this year. 1988. Split time between the Mariners and the Bucks. He didn't split it well. I'll say that. Overall, he hit 256, 286 on base, a 75 OPS plus combined, 5 home runs, 32 RBI for a minus 1.1 WAR. Not cool, Glenbow. Not cool at all.
Interesting. Did you happen to look at Brian Downing's career numbers? 275 career home runs and a 370 on base career.
Yeah, we've marveled at his ability to be a leadoff hitter, especially when he played. Catchers aren't doing that, let alone catchers that are muscular like him. It's Ricky Henderson, Vince Coleman, Willie McGee. I mean, yeah, it's he was a marvel.
He was a fun player to watch too.
All right, so you're up 3-2. Your next guy is, I know you've got a nickname for him. He's got stirrups and he's got science teacher glasses. For the Yankees here, it's Ron Kittle.
Ron Kittle.
Now, I don't know that he's going to get pop culture reference for making benches and chairs out of bats now. Because it's not really pop culture, but it's a thing that he does.
Yes.
Ron Kittle, also not a fan of Ricky Henderson. I will tell you that.
No kidding.
Overall, 10 years in the big leagues, 8 with the White Sox, Yankees, Cleveland, and Baltimore. In 1988, his lone season in Cleveland, hit 258, hit 258, 323 on base, a 134 OPS plus, 18 home runs, 43 RBI, and a 1.1 WAR. He's got the glasses and the real stirrups on as well, so that will be a 1.3 right off the bat. That's a baseball pun now that I'm thinking
right
about
off the bat.
Say that, yeah. Let's see, he's got a couple of books out as well, a memoir, as well as somebody else wrote about him. But maybe he did some commercials when he managed a minor league independent team that played off his Ma and Pa Kittle nickname that were similar to the Larry Johnson Grandmama ads.
Okay.
So I'll give you that. That's definitely a pop culture. So I'll give you half a point for that.
That's something to look up right there. I want to see those.
Yeah, if we can find those, we'll take a look at them. So you've got Ron Kittle with a 1.8 going up against outfielder for the Bucks, R.J. Reynolds.
Is this a tobacco guy?
Yes, he's very wealthy. Didn't need to play baseball, but he did anyway. He's from Sacramento, Northern California guy. Robert James Reynolds, 8 years in the big leagues, 6 with the Bucks, 3 with the Dodgers, 1988 with the Bucks. Let's see, hit 248, 288 on base. Come on. I mean, you got to walk a little bit. Let's see, that is good for 6 home runs, 51 RBI, 15 stolen bases, only caught twice. That's not too bad. For a .5 WAR. He's got a mustache on, so that'll be a .6. It's definitely not a bonus baby mustache. I don't think he's going to have a whole lot. Yeah, not a whole lot there, and definitely not a pop culture reference. Also played for the Yokohama Whales and the Kinitsu Buffaloes. He played for 3 years in Japan, but nothing's going to help me out there. So that is another win for you. You're up 4-2.
Nice.
All right. Let's see. You've got another pitcher for the Cardinals. It's Danny Cox.
I remember Danny Cox fondly.
I remember him because of the 85 World Series. First World Series I really paid attention to. Let's see, 11 years in baseball, 6 with the Cardinals, 3 with the Jays, and then the Phillies and the Bucks. 1988 with St. Louis. He got hurt this year and missed a couple of years after that. Let's see, overall, he went 3-8 with a 3.98, only pitched in 13 games. Those were all starts. 86 innings pitched, 89 hits allowed, 47 strikeouts for an 88 ERA plus, and a WAR of .7.
Well, it's to the positive, at least.
Yeah, and he's got a mustache here, so that'll get you an extra 1/10 of a point. Let's see, he from 88, he didn't appear back in the big leagues until 1991.
Wow.
Was injured there. He was born in Northampton, Northamptonshire. I'm assuming that is in England. Yeah, that's in England. And then he went to high school in Berlin. Nothing else here. Yeah, he's coached quite a bit, but nothing else is going to help you out there. So you got a .8, and you are going to be going up against the only captain in Mariners history. Spike Owen here with the Red Sox, where he's probably best known. 13 years in the big leagues, 4 with Montreal, 4 with the Mariners, 3 with Boston, 2 with the California Angels, and then 1 with the Yankees. 1988 with Boston. Hit 249, 324 on base, 5 home runs, 18 RBI for a 91 OPS plus, and a positive .8 WAR. He has got real stirrups on as well, so that'll be a .9. So assuming he was not suspended for anything, I am going to beat you by a 1/10 of a point. I'm going to beat you by some stirrups.
Man.
First round draft pick by your Mariners in 1988, but then he was traded with Dave Henderson to the Red Sox and Ray Quinones for Mike Brown, Mike Trujillo, and John Christensen. I would say the Mariners got taken to the cleaners there.
Oops. Yeah, that wasn't a good deal.
Yeah, nothing else is going to help me out there, but I will hang on by a 1/10 of a point to continue this. All right. Your next card here is from the Minnesota Twins. If he was a wrestler, he would have been the ultimate jobber in the 80s and 90s. Steve Lombardozzi.
Nice.
See, I brought it back to wrestling, and we talked about Vince McMahon in the BP
We're
segment.
one of the best baseball history shows when it comes to talking about wrestling.
we need Jason Kendall on here. He's a big wrestling fan.
There you go.
I think he's got a podcast, though. I know everyone has had one at one point. Let's see. Overall, Lombo, 6 years in the big leagues, 4 with the Twins, 2 with the Astros. 1988 for Minnesota. Hit 209, a 295 on base, 3 home runs, 27 RBI, a 68 OPS plus, and a .2 WAR. He does have real stirrups on here, so that'll help you out to up to a .3. That's really the only thing on this card. 1987, member of that World Series team with the Twins. I don't see anything else here that is going to help you out. All right. So you've got a .5, and I have got catcher for the Reds. And, of course, this is 88, so we're getting to guys that are going to be on that 90 Reds team. It is Ron Oster. Catcher, Ron Oster. Oster, I barely know her. Let's see. Ron, 13 years in the big leagues, all of it with the Reds. That's a lot of Marge shot that he had to put up with. I feel sorry for him. Let's see. Overall in 1988, hit 280, 319 on base, no home runs, 10 RBI. For some reason, he tried to steal a base twice and was thrown out both times. I'm going to assume broken hit and run. 83 OPS and a positive .5 WAR, which is equal to what yours was again.
Oh, my.
Is there anything on that card that's going to help me out?
Let's see. No, not a thing.
Nothing on this card is going to help me out. Ron, tell me you did something in TV or movies. No. Is in the Reds Hall of Fame, but no. So that is going to be a tie, and we're going to have to go to extra cards. Whoever wins this next round is going to be the winner because that'll push you and me both over the top. So we're going to sudden death.
Okay.
All right. You want
to focus.
Your card is Greg Harris with the Phillies.
Greg Harris.
So Greg Harris has a famous baseball card with the Red Sox, and he has got aviator sunglasses on. It's during spring training, and he's wearing a glove on the, a baseball glove on the top of his head like a hat. But this is not that card. This Greg Harris, though, wear a lot of glasses. Couldn't see. Blind as a bat. I don't know. He wore glasses a lot. 15 years in the big leagues. Wow. One of those good grid player, played for just about everybody. 1988 with the Phils, he went 4-6 with a 2.36 ERA out of the bullpen. 107 innings out of the bullpen, 107 innings pitched. Wow. Jeez. That's a lot. Only gave up 80 hits and struck out 71. Woo.
Nice.
152 ERA plus for a 2.6 WAR plus the glasses, so that'll be a 2.7. He's got a mustache and real stirrups as well, so that'll be a 2.9 for
Did not
Greg
see that coming.
Harris.
Wow.
Now, he's got to have been, in a ton of movies and TV. There's probably songs written about him.
Yeah.
Now, the one thing about Greg Harris, this is something we bring up whenever we got Greg Harris. He was amphibious.
That's right. He could pitch underwater.
He could pitch underwater. Could also pitch with either hand. But nobody ever allowed him to do it when he did this. But he was legit ambidextrous. But in his penultimate game with the Montreal Expos, he retired Reggie Harris pitching right-handed, then switched left hand for Hal Morris and Ed Taubensee.
Nice.
And then switched back to face Brett Boone. So, all right, he did it. Had a custom-built glove from Mizuno that is now in the National Baseball Hall of Fame.
Nice.
All right. So that's a 2.9, and you will be going up against, for me... All right, I got a shot here, Mark. You're going to be going up against, with the Astros, Ken Caminiti.
Oh, no.
All right. First of all, RIP to Cam, but 1988. Let's see here. With the Astros, this is only his second year in the big leagues. Well, not even a full year. He only played 30 games. I think you're going to get a break here. He hit 181 with a 225 on base, 1 home run, 7 RBI, a 37 OPS plus, and a minus .6 WAR, and the steroid stuff as well is going to blow me out of the water.
Wow, I didn't expect to beat Ken Caminiti.
You won with one of your guys. You beat me with one of my guys last week. Son of a gun. All right, well, congratulations to you. You're just one behind me now. It's 12-13. I had like a four game lead or something a little while ago.
I hope you kept the receipt to all that champagne you bought.
Yeah, they're wheeling it out. We're going to put it up on eBay. I'll sign them though, but yeah. All right, that'll do it for Wax Packs Heroes. That'll do it for another episode of Two Strike Noise. Thank you very much for joining us. If you want more of us, make sure to check out Two Strike Noise pretty much anywhere. You can find it all in the show notes. You can listen to all of our past episodes. This is show mark number 275. Wow, that's a lot of shows.
Good thing the internet has lots of memory.
Yeah, that's 275 episodes of goodness. You can go back and listen to some other ones if you haven't. Also, you can find us all over the internet. We're social media. We're on Blue Sky. I'm getting, as I said, ready to put a new video up on YouTube. I've also been streaming a couple of times a week on Twitch. So follow us on Blue Sky because I usually announce there when I'm going to stream on Twitch. It tends to be like Tuesdays and Fridays, but it gets mixed up depending on what I'm doing. But sometimes Mark will even show up. That was fun last week, Mark.
It was fun. I had a good time.
Yeah, we need to get you on there again. We also have email, Mark, that you want to tell them about.
Sure, you can write to us at Two Strike Noise, spell it out, TWO, strike noise @gmail.com.
All right. Thank you, Mark. And thank you, everybody, again for listening. And we will see you again on the next episode of Two Strike Noise.
Thank you. God bless you. Have a great day.